welcome on in. This is Drinks with Binks. I'm, of course, Julie Stewart-Binks. And every week we are so thrilled to be able to welcome in someone from the sports world, entertainment world, whatever it may be. And I'm very excited that not only is our next guest someone who is very well known in the sports TV sphere, they're also one of my friends. And we have ESPN broadcaster Cassidy Hubbarth with us today. And we haven't seen each other in a while.
I'm like watching you on the television, like cheering you on. I'm like, yeah, Julie,
I made it. I'm on TV.
I like this move, by the way. I've seen you do that move. That's the very
it's
you.
just like, and like the mouth open, like not really looking cool at all. It's just like my playbook.
Cool. Your cool is
Thank you.
very cool.
Well, you're cool, super cool. And there's so many things I want to get into, especially, can we just take a moment to acknowledge your jumpsuit that you have on, which is badass.
Do a J-Lo jean fit once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a J-Lo jean fit once in a while. I actually wore a J-Lo jean fit to my homecoming dance with full-on braids. It's on the internet somewhere.
But that was the style at the time, so
it's always the style.
Yeah, okay.
J-Lo's always in.
She technically is always in. She's just like this immortal zombie. But you also have these cool kicks on as well, and I also wore some cool shoes because you're here today and never wear these shoes. But I was like,
why? Those are great.
I don't know.
Easy on, easy off.
Okay, maybe you
zip off.
Can you help me with these? So. Viewers, I'm wearing these shoes. They look like they're almost like not done.
Okay, but obviously, Virgil Abloh actually made that cool.
Okay.
Off-White? Have you heard of Off-Whites?
Okay, yeah, Off-Whites.
That's like a accent that he uses in a lot of
the Off-Whites
designs.
The one that's not, it looks like it's still in the factory.
Correct.
Okay, we were trying to figure this out ahead of time, like what, because...
Those aren't Off-Whites, though.
No, these are not Off-Whites, and also...
Yeah. You got it. You got some accents there.
Yeah,
Look,
and the fact that it makes me look
like... If you're comfortable in those shoes,
I'm not at
that's
all.
what makes...
I am wildly uncomfortable in these shoes because they look like... It looks like I'm wearing them on the wrong sides of my feet. Because they...
No.
Anyways.
Look, I'm actually mildly uncomfortable, too. As much as I love J's, I think people who wear J's... like maybe sacrilegious to say, but I'm telling the truth. Like they're uncomfortable.
Really? Why?
But they're still, like pain is beauty.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean,
because they hit in the back, especially ones. They're high. They they're just not constructed in a way that's like.
But so many people wear them. You think that would be something they change, like make them more they're running shoes.
These are.
It's fashion.
Yes, and they're like classic. You can't change the design of a Jordan 1.
Comfortable.
Like, this is the first ever shoe that Jordan wore. The bands.
Okay.
Anyways, enough about this.
No, I like that. Okay, because we have a lot of people were curious about the sneaker culture and everything that you know about it.
Yeah,
and
I'm not a sneakerhead though. I will not say that I'm but I enjoy and I appreciate sneaker culture and I love sneakers. I host a sneaker show, but sneakerheads at this point, like that is. You have to really earn that title. You have to follow it all the way back to
the history
of it. Yes,
and spend probably a lot of money as well.
And then and understand like how much the sneaker culture has grown with like the second market, and I'm interested, but I'm not that invested.
College class at this point. Well, we are going to talk to you a bit about it.
I know you've seen all these lines of little kids waiting outside of like Supreme and like,
and like grown men and women that have like 150 pairs of shoes. Just. I don't know. It's stressful, but it's cool.
It's stressful. Stressful.
But that's, I guess, what the world we live in now. So just got to lean into it. Speaking of leaning into it, we drink on the show. Yeah. And what is a drink we're drinking today, Cass?
Okay. Wait, I kind of have like a London theme going on right now. Yeah. But I don't drink coffee, but I drink a tea. So I'm a little bit of a spaz when it comes to like making sure I have the like one drink. There's only one drink that like gives me a boost.
Okay.
Or like. And it has to be, I don't know if we can say like brands, but it has to be a Starbucks. How basic bitch I am right now. Has to be a Starbucks London Fog tea latte with soy milk.
Okay.
And this is how I'm going to die. Like, I know it. Like, I'm either going to die from the soy milk at Starbucks or fair. My gel manicures that I get over it. Like, that's how I'm dying. I already know because like those are my vices that I just have just accepted.
But you haven't gotten sick of it yet? Like I feel.
No, it's the only thing that can wake me up. Even if a fake, don't take me to like Tazo tea or I mean, I don't even know what like other tea shops are. Tea. Like, don't give me like a random Earl Grey tea. It has to be whatever kind of magic poison Starbucks gives. And they're like, it's a combination of the Earl Grey tea, the soy milk that they have, and the massive amounts of sugar in it that like wakes me up.
Okay, I think you're gonna be wildly disappointed with our London fog, but I don't know. I'm just gonna put in low expectations.
I'm gonna try it
because wait, okay, yeah. Get in there. This is your crack.
It's perfect.
Well,
sort of.
Yeah, there. It's perfect. It's good. It's good enough for the London fog master.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is not Starbucks though, right?
I don't know.
Is it?
It is Starbucks. It is Starbucks. So that was a test.
Sugar-free vanilla or? I'm telling you, I'm a psycho.
It's not sugar-free vanilla.
I'm a psycho when it comes to this, but this is how I used to judge people who walked out of Starbucks with like a venti, but then I had a kid and it was like, now I get it. Now you get it. This is quite sweet, though, I will say. It's very sweet. I told you, this is how I'm dying.
You like. Okay, good. She likes the sweetness. It's okay. And then also...
Sometimes, I try to tell people it kind of sort of tastes like Fruit Loops. But this one, does it?
I can taste it.
Okay.
I can taste it.
And it just gets me.
Just a warm glass of Fruit Loop milk, really, is what it is. But you also brought us a little present here.
So when you asked me, like, what do we want to drink? And you were like, you can have anything, tea or alcohol. And I'm like, well, can I? Because I'm I'm like in this box of, you're a journalist. Like, you can't ever be shown drinking alcohol.
Oh, yeah. No.
But
because journalists do not drink.
We do not drink. But I've been I was like trained. I was like part of the Facebook generation where like like from the get-go I was like, don't put any compromising photos of yourself on social
drinking.
Media. And so it's been in my mind. So that's why I said, all right, let's just do tea. But then I was like, well, I'm gonna come off lame, and I want to come off lame on Julie's show.
I could sense that you harbored a little bit of that stress.
So, but this is my drink though. It's I like a gin and tonic, and I like Monkey 47 gin. Which is a dry London gin, and it has like it's like some sort of elderflower. I don't know.
Very nice.
It's very smell
very
it.
Fancy.
Just smell it.
I like how into drinks you are. Like you have all your little quirks. That is quite nice,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice.
I brought it
gin,
from
which
home.
we aren't drinking today, but who knows? Maybe we will taste test it later.
Okay.
We also didn't want to get her in trouble because she's part of the big mothership ESPN. We don't want them to be like, "Oh, Cassie got drunk on your show." Julie was like, "No, I swear, there's no alcohol in here." Right. So if she says anything crazy, it's her fault. But she won't because we don't let people do that on the show unless you are Michael Smith. He's no longer at
Love you, Michael.
All right, okay, let's move on. What are we toasting to, Cass?
You. Can we toast to you?
Oh, I don't know.
And your show.
Sure.
Yes.
All right.
Well, and us being reunited because the last time I saw you was
a very different circumstance.
You didn't have your own show, and now I'm sitting on a couch of your own show.
I had nothing at that time.
Getting London fog high with you. This is what happens.
We are doing this. Okay, that is awesome. But one good thing about that you're toasting to in your life, though, Cass.
Okay. Family.
Sure, yeah, well, family.
That's great.
Love.
I mean, look, my career's going great, but it always comes back to the family, especially after, not to bring a Debbie Downer, but like after watching, the memorial yesterday.
Yeah.
I just like immediately just wanted to like hold my 14-month-old daughter. So I guess, cheers to, having supportive friends and loved ones around you. And and being on your show. I'm so excited.
And Cass, you've been able to handle it all with career and family, and we're going to get into a whole lot more when we see you guys on the other side of this break on Drinks with Binks. Welcome on back to Drinks with Binks. We've got ESPN broadcaster Cassidy Hubbarth on the couch with us here today. And Cass, you are all over the place. We're right in the middle of the NBA season, as you mentioned. You do sideline reporting. You also host hoop streams. What is sort of like your week like on a regular basis right now? Because you also do college football in the college football season.
Yeah. So typically I would I would do sidelines during the week, like a Wednesday game, maybe a Friday game. So I would fly out there the day before so I could go to practice or shoot around, make sure I'm there in the morning on a Wednesday morning for shoot around, and then I do the game on Wednesday night, and then I would fly either Saturday morning or Friday night to do my Saturday night primetime hoop streams, which is our pregame show on YouTube, Twitter, and the ESPN app leading into our primetime games. We've been doing it all year into like our biggest matchups, like we did Clippers-Lakers on Christmas Day, but we mainly try to showcase our Saturday night primetime matchups.
And it's doing so well, hoop streams. Like whenever I see it on features on ESPN or on Twitter, like the numbers you guys are getting are through the roof. Like it's insane. Why has it worked so well?
I think it's just a sign of the times too. It's seeping into an area of viewership that really kind of speaks to how people are consuming sports media. It's, not as many people are sitting down in front of their televisions. They're on the go and streaming, and, on Twitter, following storylines. And, our show pops up in your timeline. Our show pops up in the ESPN app if you're looking at scores, or if, you're on YouTube. I think our show finds you instead of you having to find our show on TV.
Like, boom, here we are.
Yeah.
Like, you can't not watch us.
And so, and I think also the look of it popping up like live video in your timeline, it interests people to figure out, oh, what are they doing? Because we're on the court, or, LeBron's like working out behind us. And that kind of atmosphere makes you want to, be a part of it. So I think it's really helpful that we're on site and, bringing that energy, that live energy of the arena to viewers. And it's like we're very loose. We're just kind of talking ball. And I think people are more accustomed to that type of feel, that podcast feel, as we are just kind of having a good conversation, as opposed to very structured, because we have no commercials. It's just 30 minutes nonstop. And during the playoffs and finals, it's an hour nonstop.
Okay, so you've had these very traditional experiences with hosting college football on ABC and then doing sideline reporting, which are are incredible jobs from a network standpoint, of course. And then you do the digital side. How has the digital side helped you evolve as a broadcaster?
Well, I mean, digital and social has really defined my career. We were talking in the break about, I was in college when Facebook launched, and I graduated from Northwestern in 2007. That was just after Twitter launched. And actually, one of my first jobs I got out of college, I worked on what was called Sprint Exclusive Entertainment. This was a time when it was like flip phones. So there was not smartphones, but we were creating digital content for Sprint users. So it was like on demand. You had to click through, but we would pop up with 2 to 3 minute videos about sports stories, entertainment stories, music stories. Wow. So it was ahead of its time. But then, the market crashed and Sprint lost a lot of money, and then I got laid off. But that was like one of my first jobs. And then my next big role on air, I worked as a social media reporter. So during this time, this is when Twitter was really starting to pick up. People are starting to understand it. More Facebook was established, but I think people were engaging with it in a new way, not just like sharing pictures. And so I was hired as a social media reporter for SEC Gridiron Live for Fox Sports South in Atlanta, where I basically this sounds archaic now, but I was just reading tweets on air. And engaging and creating my own show within the show on Facebook. So from there, that's when I was hired by ESPN for ESPN3, which is a whole nother aspect of digital media, which was streaming simulcast of our college football games and college basketball games and NBA games, where you would see Reese Davis on the desk on TV, but if you watched on your computer, you would see me and Christian Fourier hosting halftime. So I'm telling you my whole resume right now, just to give you an understanding that I am a product of great timing, I think, but also a passion and desire to learn how this business has evolved. but I just happened to evolve with it because of, it just happened to be at the exact same time. Media was changing and growing horizontally with social media and digital media. And from there on, I mean, I've always had a digital presence at ESPN from ESPN3. And then even when I hosted NBA Tonight, a big part of NBA Tonight was following NBA Twitter. Being part of NBA Tonight around that time is when NBA Twitter kind of blew up. So it was just a good mix of timing and really like following and understanding and being active on social media, I think has helped me in my journey to now hosting this show, where I kind of feel like finally, I think people have come around to respect digital media. There was times early on in my career where I was told, well, you're just a digital talent, and there was a stigma attached to it. I think there's still a lot of learning that has to, happen from a lot of people making decisions that like digital media, and I think they understand it, but there's something to, we're all kind of learning as we go about the reach that digital media has with young people, with, our age and our older people. But I'm just glad I've been along for the ride for it, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what a great avenue to have started in, and to just sort of, as you mentioned, like grow with it, evolve with it, and it to be sort of just like part of who you are in this industry. Because a lot of people trying now to sort of bring what they've done in TV into the digital sphere and try to capitalize on that. And as you mentioned, the thoughts and opinions of sometimes people older or higher above us in a network thinking,
who didn't have the same experience with it. I mean, my whole career has been digital media. And so, I mean, as much as I can't hold it against other people who can't fully understand it like I do, because that's not what their experience has been. So, it's just learning and evolving. And so you've seen so much of where it's come from. You're really at the precipice of digital sports media right now. Where does it go? I think that's the challenge that every network has. We're all trying to figure out how to continue to reach more and more people when there's so many options out there for people to consume or digest sports media. I mean, I even feel like sitting down and watching games. Like, I am a hoop head. I cover the league. I'm paid to cover the league. But there are times where, like, I will follow stories and what's happening on social, and instead of like watching the 12 different games on a night, like, I'll watch one game and then be like, all right, well, I could just see on social what Giannis or LeBron did that night because I need to get to bed, or something like that. And so I think understanding those trends and trying to not change people's habits, but to kind of grow with them, I think that's the task that we have right now in sports media. And I don't know what that is. I think that's like what we've been trying to determine for, the last decade. I think we're in such a time with technology that we don't even know what it's going to be like in 2 years. I mean, what the hell was TikTok a year ago? And now it's like,
I still don't really know.
I don't really know either. And I think that's a sign that I may have reached like my point of growing with social media. I think I'm trying. Maybe I don't know. I had to interview some like TikTok celebrities during the Celebrity All-Star game, and I think I went over to them and was like, "Howdy doody, kids! What kind of content are you guys gonna be working on an All-Star?"
Well, you're like interviewing influencers now because they're like celebrities.
But they have a voice, and for young people who have grown up living on their devices, you have to find a way to reach them and make them interested in, and dedicated to your content, your sport, like the leagues.
Right. I know.
And I also think like leagues we're in a time with sports where a lot of people are gravitating towards specific athletes, like celebrities.
Yes, yeah. Well, you're in a great spot for that, because the NBA has been perfect for cultivating, followings around these celebrities and superstars on the court. And I think if anything, you guys have shown with Hoop Streams like a model that is, can work. And so that's something, a proof of concept, if you will, for then being able to bring it elsewhere. So we're going to talk a whole lot more about that and Cassidy when we come back on Drinks with Binks. All right, right, guys, welcome on back to Drinks with Binks. We've been discussing a lot about NBA and Cassidy's career with ESPN and beyond and being a part of the digital sphere. And as it pertains to NBA, Adam Silver and the league has really leaned into social media, NBA Twitter, really bringing these stars to life. And we look at Adam Silver as sort of a demigod in the world of commissioners and how he's handled himself. What do you think is like the biggest thing that he's done that other leagues and commissioners should sort of be aware of?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to how much he's empowered the players, so that they are forward facing. You do feel like it's their league, which could be good and bad, but because as we see in free agency and people holding out and choosing to force their way out, there's a point of like having too much power. But I think that idea of empowering your employees, I think just overall creates a great working environment. I think some people may find that strange to talk about the NBA like it's like a corporation or like a company, but it is. So he's just a fantastic leader. And a good communicator, not just with his employees, but I think with the public as well. He's transparent. I mean, one of his first roles as commissioner is how he swiftly handled the Donald Sterling situation. That sends a message. That hatred is unacceptable. And I think, I just think communication to me is the single most important quality you need to have as a leader. And I think that trickles down to the players feeling empowered to have their own voice, which only grows the league by them growing outside of the league as well. So yeah, I mean, there's that. And then also just the way that he has uplifted the sport by making sure that, they're allowed to market themselves in a greater way. And even just like events like the All-Star weekend, it was fantastic. Seeing just the production that they put on, the tributes to Kobe, even when we saw yesterday during the Kobe Memorial, all those legends together, memorializing, one of the greatest legends of the game. I just feel like I don't know if there's another league where you could feel that type of community. And I think David Stern was a big part of changing the league and growing it into an international game, and having the players come together in many ways. And I just think that Adam Silver has taken it up a notch by fostering these the personalities and bringing those to the forefront in their marketing and advertising for the league. And I just think it's in a great community, and you can see it, and it's a family. And we definitely saw that yesterday with the support with players who had games yesterday. They wanted to make sure that they were there to pay their respects and just show that, like, we're in this together, and then no matter what. So I'm very proud to be even a small part of this league. I've been a fan of the NBA since I was a little girl. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I grew up during the Jordan era, so it's kind of in my blood. And I think it's in a really good place. And there's so many stars on the horizon too. So, I mean, there was a little time where I was a little worried, like, who's going to be able to pick up the slack of LeBron, because LeBron has been such a massive force, not just for the NBA, but for ESPN and for TNT. He is like the single biggest ratings driver, but I like guys like Luka and Zion and Ja Morant. Like, this league's in a really, really good place when it comes to stars. So
yeah, I mean, there's so many different levels and layers of positivity with the NBA, and it's so great to hear you speak so passionately about it and have that relationship with the league and the players and that viewpoint on Adam Silver. And I mean, I'm not trying to rain on that parade, but the idea that what would be the next step for the NBA and for Adam Silver if they needed to improve on something? Because sometimes when something's so good and so much better than other things, we tend to not really put it under any criticism. But what do you think would be the next step?
I don't know. There's always talk of like tweaks to the schedule, if we need to tweak the playoffs. And that's another thing. It's like you see this with the NBAs. They're constantly like trying things out. That's why we have the G League, and that's why we have Summer League to test these little things like the challenge, or we're reseeding of the playoffs, or even what they did with the All-Star game. I mean, I was one who was like clowning the changes. I'm like, come again? What is going on?
I know, everyone was
and
like,
then
what does this mean? We don't get it.
What I have to do division now? Like, why am I adding things up during this game? But it turned out to be great.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, they have the courage to try things to see if it improves the product. And I think that's it. They're not complacent as well. And I mean, as successful this league is, they're not complacent. And I think, again, that points to leadership.
What are you watching in the second half of the season?
I mean, okay, a lot of things obviously start and end with the LA teams. LeBron, like, that would be an incredible story if the Lakers were to win, obviously in memory of Kobe. But really, when it comes to out east, the Sixers are a bit of a mess. But you could argue that they have the most talent on their roster. So can they figure it out in the playoffs when talent really rules all? And then the Bucks, like, they could be the third team with 70 wins. Like, and I want them to be more. It's just that no one is paying attention to them. Yes, obviously everyone knows that Giannis is the MVP and is fantastic, but it's going to come down to can they do it in the playoffs? So that's going to be interesting. The East race is going to be. It can go so many different ways.
Yeah.
It can go so many different ways, and then really, the West. You could say that too, but it's going to center around Staples Center. I mean, the Clippers just have like so much depth, and not to mention Kawhi and Paul George, and they haven't been healthy all year. And then the Lakers, I mean, LeBron and AD, LeBron's never had anyone like Anthony Davis. Sure, Dwayne Wade, but like it's a different type of chemistry between him and Anthony Davis. And I just will not bet against LeBron James.
Especially in a year that almost seems destined, as you mentioned.
I don't know. It's just sports, like, it always just feels like that story always comes to life when there's like when something happens. I don't know, like when the Red Sox after the Boston Marathon, it was just like it does feel that
yeah,
that
just like
way.
a greater power is sort of a play and a motivation for the city.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that when we come back after the break on Drinks with Binks. Welcome on back to Drinks with Binks. I'm JSB, and we have ESPN's Cassidy Hubbarth joining us here, sipping on a little London fog.
Yeah.
And we were just discussing...
Say it with your chest. London fog.
Yeah, I was like, say it. How? Yeah, London fog. You know, it's it. It's like that weather that happens in
London.
Blighty. Yeah. Okay, great. I'm glad we debriefed that. No alcohol, though. Don't worry, ESPN. But we were discussing the Lakers. We were discussing, kind of what's going on down the stretch in the NBA second half of the season. And it'd be remiss for us not to discuss, obviously, what you've already touched on, but the tribute to Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna on Monday that this happened, which, of course, was in light of their tragic death that just happened recently. And it was a very emotional tribute, many different people involved, including Michael Jordan, which was very interesting to kind of see a little bit more into the relationship that he had.
Yeah.
You grew up, you said, as a Bulls fan. What was it like seeing him talk about Kobe?
I mean, we don't see Jordan talk ever and actually be vulnerable like that. I mean, I think everyone can remember his Hall of Fame speech. He's confident / arrogant, and that's Michael Jordan. That's what made him great. But I think the way that he shared, how Kobe was just relentless in learning from Jordan, and like to a point where Jordan, I tweeted this out, irritated him to the point where he couldn't help but fall in love with him. And like, even Jordan, like, saying he was so annoying, he was so irritating, but like, you felt like you were inside that friendship, and you saw it. You saw, even in the way that he kind of like walked us through the good joke with the, you know, the Jordan meme, which was pitch perfect. He delivered it perfectly. But, you know, he closed that up by saying, like, this is what he did to me. You know, he got through to me. And he made me, he affected me. And, you know, seeing this guy who, you know, who everyone holds as one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest, and as a competitor, and who we all knew that Kobe idolized and, you know, mimicked his game after. You could see just sometimes early in his career, the way he talked, the way his movements. All that whole memorial yesterday was just, you know, the people who knew him and loved him, like, truly personally, doesn't owe the public anything, but, you know, it was such a healing and emotional experience, because you just felt like you got to know him a little bit more as a person, not just as the guy that we saw wearing the 8 and the 2-4. And, you know, of course it was incredibly sad, but there was that's what it was. It was a celebration of, like, how special he truly was, which was not something that, like, even as covering the NBA, you know, with his final years, like, I even looked at him that way. Even when he won his Oscar, I'm like, why did he win this Oscar for Dear Basketball? Did he just win it, like, you know, because he's Kobe Bryant? But then watching Dear Basketball after that, I mean, granted, like, I have a different perspective on it, but it was truly beautiful. And I think that's just what I kind of learned, is that you really just can't, like, the people are so much more, especially, like, famous people, than what they're presented, like, in front of you. And, you know, you should give people the benefit of the doubt always. You don't know what struggles they're going through. You don't know how complex they are. And I just, you know, what we learned so much about this guy and how much he went out of his way to make other people better. Those are the people he loved. He invested in other people. And I think Jimmy Kimmel had a great line to, like, sum up the whole day. It was just like, work hard and support those you love. And I think those are two great, you know, messages to learn from Kobe's life.
Yeah, we all learned so much about him. And as you mentioned, just getting the insights and humanizing a superhero that so many of us saw him as, whether you liked him, whether you didn't, he was larger than life. And you've covered this entire experience.
Yeah. From
when the news broke to, of course, the tribute this week. Being in the arenas and being around the players, what has that been like?
I mean, it's been hard. I think it's anytime you deal with grief, whether you're experiencing it yourself or you are trying to comfort those around you, you know, it's hard. Everyone deals with it differently. So to try to predict the right things to say, you know, it's hard. I think the biggest lesson I think I've learned in dealing with people and dealing with grief myself is just try to be as true to your feelings as possible. And so, you know, like you said, when the news broke, I was getting ready to go into studio. I was assigned to host what we call wraps, which is pregame, halftime, and postgame of the Pelicans-Celtics game. So it was supposed to be like 5 minutes tops television, you know, pregame, halftime. It's not that long. But then as I was getting ready, I got a call from our good friend Diana Rossini, who, you know, is always on top of every breaking news story regardless. So she calls me, she goes, is this true? I go, what are you talking about? She goes, Kobe's dead. And immediately I put her on speaker and I start scrolling. I don't see it. So I don't know where she saw it first. And then all of a sudden I saw it on TMZ. And I'm like, oh my God. I start freaking out. And I keep scrolling, trying to hope that it was wrong, that not looking for another outlet to confirm it, but wishing that I didn't find it. And then, you know, I was in the bedroom with my husband with Di on the phone, and he just looks at me and he goes, you got to get to work and you got to focus on you know, on what's ahead of you right now. And so what I did, I talked to her, Di, through it on my way to the office, and then she actually gave me a good idea to call Bob Lee, and just ask him like how he's dealt with, you know, stories like this. I mean, he's been working for ESPN for over, I don't even know, 35 years. So he's handled, I mean, this is one of the biggest stories of all time, but he's handled so many different stories. And I called him and he goes, look, there's two things you just need to focus on here, is focusing on delivering the facts. And then when it comes to gathering perspective, just make sure you're comfortable with what you're saying. And so I know it sounds very simplistic, but like my head was racing a million miles an hour. You know, like I didn't even have time to like feel sad about it. I just was like so in shock, and trying to gather the information, make sure that things were correct. And so getting onto the set, you know, I have been way more nervous in way less important situations, but I feel like I felt like, all right, I just need to make sure I'm accurate and, you know, figure out what's going on here today, because you're part of, you know, delivering some news to some people who may have not heard this yet. So that was an intense day. I think, you know, it was a day I wish I never had to be a part of, but I'm glad that I was able to have a clear head and be able to deliver the news for some people that day. And then through the week, you know, I had to interview Kyrie Irving, and I don't know if Kyrie was one of like Kobe, and many times said if he had one mentee that, you know, he had the closest relationship to would be Kyrie. And as we could tell, you know, so many young players have come out and said how Kobe was a mentor, how he went out of his way. But he himself said that Kyrie's a mentee.
There's been so many players who have really talked about his depth and his breadth of being a mentor. And I definitely want to get to that. We just have to take a quick break. More on Drinks with Binks after this.
I'm Grant Wall, and I've had Drinks with Binks.
Welcome back to Drinks with Binks. We got ESPN's Cassidy Hubbarth here. We've been talking about a whole bunch of different topics, and I want to get back into some more NBA because it's exciting, of course. And okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Hey.
Let's do some like tighter little quick back and forth, but for the Bucks, do they win the Eastern Conference?
Yes.
Okay. And the Bucks are going to face who in the finals, or Eastern Conference finals?
Oh, God, man, my pick to come out was the Sixers, but I'm going to go with the Celtics.
What? How come?
How come the Celtics? Because the trajectory that Jason Tatum is on right now, I mean, ever since he was named an All-Star, it's like he is venturing towards superstardom, and Kemba Walker is not even healthy right now. And I feel like they have a nice chemistry. They're a good defensive team. They have depth, and I think the Sixers are a mess. Now, granted, the Heat couldn't make some noise, but I think it's going to be Celtics Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
You just like forgot a team, I think, like maybe. So
Oh,
I'm just gonna remind you.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? Bring all of, like, flood my mentions. Flood my mentions.
Toronto Raptors.
Yes, but that's
a little team.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I wouldn't.
I am a jackass.
No. Okay, I wouldn't have brought it up, and I.
No,
you know
what? That was like a microcosm of
being Canadian in the NBA.
Like
yes, somebody forgetting about
that's exactly
the Raptors
right.
that are also the defending champions.
Yes, the second team in the East. Yeah, I'm an asshole. I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than like Pascal Siakam, who is going to be your go-to guy in the playoffs. Look, Nick Nurse deserves Coach of the Year. Kyle Lowry is my favorite player in the NBA.
Oh, how come?
Because all the way back to like when I was like an amateur reporter, he always showed me ultimate respect, gave me great answers, like looked me in the eye, treated me like a person, and he's he's been that way ever since. So no one's gonna knock him off because
love that.
He was that person for me early on. And I don't know, Julie, I wish I had more.
You know what? I'm only bringing it up because
I don't have a good answer.
Listen to ESPN Daily with Mina and Doris Burke on there. Then on Bill Simmons' podcast, everyone's talking about the Raptors. This isn't just a JSB Canadian thing.
You're right. You're absolutely right. People are on the Raptors train.
Because they've been able to do it without Kawhi. And a lot of their guys have been injured.
Yes.
Figuring out a way to get done.
Yes, of course. All of these things.
I feel like I'm like a kid and it's like, yay, your Raptors are good. Okay, now let's go let the big boys play.
I think there's I hope they surprise people because I think that would change the way people view superstardom in the NBA.
They won it last year, okay?
With one of the biggest stars in the NBA, and
I just feel like Toronto's still like uphill battle the whole time. Okay, you kind
there
of
is.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's just like another day in the life of being a foreigner in this country. Whatever. But you kind of flinched when you said the Bucks to win the East. Why?
Well, because we saw last year with Giannis. If you shut down Giannis, then you pretty much shut down that team. And when you play, when it comes to the playoffs, you're playing the same team over and over again, and the defensive schemes, I hope that they can do well in the playoffs because I think it will help the NBA's claim that the regular season matters. Mm-hmm. Because if they win 70 games and then they get bounced in the first or second round, I think that's going to be a tough sell.
Would be tough. And then if the Clippers somehow ended up pulling it off, and as you mentioned, Paul George and Kawhi have played together 5 times or something this year, then it'll be guess your reg season doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Right.
So then that won't happen because then that would make the league look bad.
I don't know.
We're just saying all conspiracy maybe going on in the league, trying to lead you down that path.
Look, I think the Raptors, they really have the playoff experience, the championship experience. But Giannis it's another year. I think I'm just saying it now because I got to go with what I'm seeing. They are the best team. They've been dominant. When it comes to the East specifically, and there's issues going on. But I still wouldn't be surprised if the Sixers somehow figure it out.
The way Joel Embiid's playing right now.
Yeah, but it's about Joel and Ben playing together. And then Al Horford, they're paying him $1 gajillion to come off the bench. They just have a lot of issues, but I'm saying all these names that have playoff experience, and
you just got to be in the mix. Be in the mix, make it the playoffs, and then boom, which maybe could be Zion. We don't know, which would be really exciting to see. We got to go to break. We could talk a whole lot more, but we will do that after the break. Hey guys, Drinks with Binks has some awesome news. We are now available in podcast format on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. So make sure that you give us a listen and then rate and subscribe. All right, welcome on back to Drinks with Binks. Me, JSB, alongside Cassidy Hubbarth, and we've been talking a lot of great NBA stuff. And you are the social
Raptors take wasn't
queen.
So great.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know what? That was exactly what I thought, because
now I need to go listen to Doris Burke
gives
and get educated.
The Raptors any credit, but whatever. I'm over it now because even as defending champs, no one cares. Okay, so since you are the digital queen, I asked people today to submit the questions in a very new idea. I thought this would be groundbreaking. We'll get people online to ask you questions. So we have Part-Time Bro asks us, what's your favorite pair of sneakers all time?
My all-time holy grails are the Brett 11s. So the Jordan 11s, black and red. That's what Brett is. It was just you've seen they have patent leather, the black patent leather ones.
Yeah.
They just were, when I was growing up, I just thought they were the coolest shoes ever because they were shiny and they were more fashion than they were basketball shoes. So those will always be my holy grails.
Numero uno. Okay, Worldwide Wob, your buddy, asks, why is she so bad at making nachos?
Okay, so Rob and I, so good friends, and we used to host a show called Buckets Together, and we would do, if you follow Worldwide Wob, which everyone does, you can see that he does live periscopes, and we used to do live periscopes together, and one of these, he came over to my house. We usually did it at his house, and he came over to my house one day, and I was like, "Oh, you want me to make you some snacks?" And I said I would make him some nachos, and I just put some cheese on some chips, and I put it in the oven, and so. How do you make nachos?
Yeah, that's how I would make them as well. So,
but they ended up being really dry.
Oh, the cheese was just like crunched into it. Yeah,
they were really bad. They're just cheesy chips. They weren't nachos. I think I needed more cheese, maybe some more
What did Wob want? Okay, I mean, did he want?
He wanted
the sour
pizza rolls because that's how he lives. He is the worst. His diet, I don't know how he lives. I don't know how he's a surviving human, because he only eats pizza rolls and burritos. He won't eat any vegetables, anything green, a lettuce. He has in his life. He told me a story about how his mom sat him down at the dinner table and was like, "You eat your vegetables, or you sit here for the rest of the night." He sat there until the morning. What a little shit.
I like that spike.
That's him.
Yeah, that's the Wob way.
He slept at the dinner table because he didn't want to eat broccoli.
That's exactly what I imagine him to be like.
And now
look at him. He's still alive.
He's still alive.
Doing great on
He
Twitter.
says he takes vitamins. That's what supplements it. But
I don't think that's
still, I'm worried about his well-being. I love you, Rob.
Yeah, we love you. And thank you for answering those questions. More next time. We got to take a quick time out. More Drinks with Binks next. All right, we don't have a whole lot of time left on Drinks with Binks, but Cass, we got to know what it's like to be a mom and also a broadcaster.
Exhausting. Tired all the time, but it's amazing. I mean, I will say it was hard. Just dealing with all of the emotions and hormones. That's something people don't tell you about with pregnancy, and then 9 months after having the baby, dealing with being on camera, being on air, living my life of which used to be consumed with my work and my husband, but my work, and now introducing this whole new number one priority. So I'm still learning. It's hard being away from her, but it's a blessing.
I don't know how you do it because it's just so hard to even try to make it in your career alone, let alone being absolute star and a mom. And you can catch Cassidy Hubbarth on Hoop Streams this weekend, Houston at Boston. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I loved being with you, Julie.